I used to believe that love was supposed to feel like fireworks, that it should announce itself loudly, demand attention, make your heart race in your chest until you couldn't think straight. I believed in grand gestures and passionate declarations. I believed that intensity meant depth. I was 23 years old, and I had never been more wrong about anything in my life. The day I walked into that conference room expecting to finalize wedding venue details, I found my fiancé and my sister in a position that required no explanation. There was no screaming, no throwing things. Just a quiet, crystalline moment where everything I thought I knew shattered without making a sound. What came after wasn't what anyone expected. Not my family, not me, and certainly not him. The man with the scar on his jaw and sadness in his eyes who asked for nothing and somehow gave me everything. If you've ever questioned whether you can trust yourself again after someone breaks you, stay with me. And if this story moves something in you, let me know in the comments. That's all I ask. The hotel conference room smelled like vanilla and furniture polish. I remember that detail with strange clarity, the way you remember odd things when your world is ending. I'd chosen my outfit carefully that morning. A soft blue dress that made me feel put together without trying too hard. My sister had texted me the location with a string of excited emojis, telling me she'd arranged something special for the wedding planning. I should have known. Claire never arranged anything that wasn't ultimately about Claire. The door wasn't locked. That's what I'll never understand. They couldn't even be bothered to lock the door. My fiancé, Derek, had his hands in her hair. Her blouse was unbuttoned. They were on the couch that was probably meant for bride and groom consultations, and they looked comfortable. Familiar. Like this wasn't the first time. I stood there for what felt like an hour, but was probably only seconds. Neither of them noticed me immediately. When Claire finally looked up, she didn't gasp or scramble away. She just looked annoyed, like I'd interrupted something inconvenient. Derek at least had the decency to go pale. Zariah. His voice cracked on my name. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stood there, my purse still on my shoulder, my phone with all our wedding planning notes still in my hand, and felt something inside me go very, very quiet. How long? I heard myself ask. Claire was buttoning her blouse, taking her time. Does it really matter? 6 months, Derek said, and he sounded almost relieved to say it. Like he'd been carrying it around and was glad to finally put it down. Consequences be damned. 6 months. We'd been engaged for 8. I turned and walked out. I heard Derek call after me, heard footsteps, but I just kept walking through the hotel lobby, past the front desk where a clerk smiled at me automatically, out into the parking lot where the September sun was too bright and the air was too normal. My hands shook so badly I couldn't get my key in the car door. I stood there in the parking lot, fumbling with my keys like an old woman, and that's when the tears finally came. Not sobs. Just water streaming down my face while I tried again and again to unlock my car. Here. A hand reached past me, gently took my keys, and unlocked the door. You're okay. Just breathe. I turned to find a man I'd never seen before. Tall, lean, with dark hair and a scar that ran from his temple down to his jaw. He was holding my keys out to me, his expression careful and kind. I'm fine, I managed, taking the keys back. Of course you are, he said gently, and something about the way he said it, like he knew I wasn't fine but was giving me the dignity of the lie, made me cry harder. He didn't try to touch me. He just stood there at a respectful distance, present but not intrusive, until I could breathe again. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded once and walked away, limping slightly. I watched him go, this stranger who'd shown me more kindness in 2 minutes than my family had shown me in years, and then I got in my car and drove. I didn't go home. I couldn't face my apartment, which was full of wedding magazines and paint samples for the house we'd never buy together. Instead, I drove to my parents' house because some part of me still believed they would be on my side. That belief lasted exactly 15 minutes. My mother was in the kitchen when I arrived, arranging flowers in a vase. She looked up when I came in, took one look at my face, and sighed. "Claire called," she said. "Zariah, before you say anything, I need you to listen." I sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd done homework and eaten birthday cake, and announced my engagement 9 months ago to champagne and cheers. "They're in love," my mother continued, still fussing with the flowers. "It's not what anyone wanted, but these things happen. You're young. You'll meet someone else. Derek and Claire have something real." I stared at her. I was engaged to him. Engaged isn't married. Be grateful you found out now rather than after the wedding. She finally looked at me, and her expression was more irritated than sympathetic. "Claire feels terrible. The least you could do is not make this harder than it has to be." "Claire feels terrible?" I repeated slowly. "She didn't plan this, Zariah. Neither of them did. Sometimes people just connect." My mother set down the vase with a decisive clink. "Your father and I have already lost the deposit on the venue. If you could at least try to be mature about this, it would help everyone move forward." I left without another word. I drove away from that house with its perfect garden and its careful lies, and I kept driving until I found myself at the edge of town, pulling into the parking lot of a small urgent care center. I don't know why I stopped there. I wasn't hurt. Not in any way they could treat. But I walked inside anyway, signed my name on a clipboard I didn't read, and sat down in the waiting room. A television was playing something mindless in the corner. A child was crying somewhere down the hall. The fluorescent lights hummed. I sat there for over an hour, just existing in a space where no one knew me and no one expected anything from me. "Are you waiting to see someone?" I looked up. It was the man from the parking lot. He was in scrubs now, which explained the limp, the careful way he moved. He'd been here for treatment. "Oh," I said stupidly. "No, I just needed somewhere to sit." He studied me for a moment, then sat down 2 chairs away. Not next to me. Close enough to talk, far enough to let me breathe. "Bad day?" he asked. I laughed, and it came out sounding slightly broken. "You could say that." "I have those sometimes," he said quietly. "Days where the world doesn't make sense anymore." We sat in silence for a while. It should have been awkward, sitting with a stranger in a medical waiting room, but somehow it wasn't. "I'm Rowan," he said eventually. "Zariah. That's a beautiful name." "Thank you." I looked at him properly for the first time. He had kind eyes, tired but kind, and he held himself like someone who'd learned to live with pain. "What happened to your leg?" "Injury from my last deployment," he said simply. "Still healing." "You're military?" "Was. Recently discharged." He shifted slightly, and I saw him wince. "Still getting used to civilian life." "Is it hard?" "Some days more than others." He met my eyes. "But I imagine a lot of things are like that." We talked for another 20 minutes. Easy, gentle conversation that didn't require me to explain anything. He told me about the strange adjustment of coming home, how everything felt both familiar and foreign. I told him about my work as a children's librarian, about how stories had always made more sense to me than real life. When a nurse called his name, he stood carefully. "I hope your day gets better, Zariah." "I hope your leg heals," I said. He smiled, just a little. "It will. Eventually." I watched him walk through the doors, this stranger who'd somehow made the worst day of my life feel slightly less unbearable, and I didn't expect to see him again. But I did. The next day, I went to the park near my apartment because I couldn't stand the silence of my own space anymore. I was sitting on a bench, watching ducks circle the pond with single-minded determination, when someone sat down on the other end of the bench. "We have to stop meeting like this," Rowan said, and there was the faintest trace of humor in his voice. "People will talk." I found myself almost smiling. What are you doing here? Physical therapy appointment down the street. I walk afterward when I can. He gestured to his leg. Supposed to be good for recovery. Is it working? Slowly. He looked out at the pond. How are you today? The simple question, asked with genuine interest, nearly undid me. I'm staying with a friend. I can't be in my apartment right now. That's smart. Sometimes distance helps. Does it? I turned to look at him. Does distance actually help anything? Sometimes, he said carefully. Sometimes you need space to figure out what you're actually feeling versus what you think you should be feeling. We fell into step after that, an easy routine that neither of us acknowledged but both of us kept. I'd go to the park in the late afternoon, and he'd often be there after his appointments. We'd walk the path around the pond, talking about everything and nothing. He never asked about what had happened that first day. Never pushed for information I wasn't ready to give. He told me about his unit, about the friends he'd lost and the ones who'd made it home. He talked about his struggle with feeling useless now that he couldn't serve anymore. I told him about my family, about always feeling like I was supposed to be smaller, quieter, more convenient. You don't seem quiet to me, he said one afternoon, 3 weeks after we'd first met. That's because you actually listen, I replied. He stopped walking and looked at me with such unexpected intensity that I felt my breath catch. Anyone who doesn't listen to you is a fool. I didn't know what to say to that. No one had ever made me feel heard the way Rowan did, just by paying attention. We were standing close enough that I could see the exact pattern of his scar, the way it had healed rough but clean. Close enough that I could smell whatever soap he used, something simple and warm. Soraya, he said softly, and my name in his voice sounded like something worth being. I kissed him. I don't know who moved first, or maybe we both did, but suddenly his hands were gentle on my face and mine were fisted in his shirt, and we were kissing like we were both trying to remember what it felt like to be wanted. He pulled back first, resting his forehead against mine, breathing carefully. We should talk about this. I don't want to talk, I whispered. I know, but we should anyway. He stepped back, creating space between us that felt physically painful. I like you. I think that's obvious. But you're going through something, and I don't want to be something you regret. You wouldn't be. You don't know that yet, he said gently. Give yourself time to know that. But I was so tired of being careful. So tired of doing what I was supposed to do, of being the good daughter, the understanding ex-fiancé, the person who made everything easier for everyone else. What if I don't want to wait? I asked. He looked at me for a long moment, something complicated moving across his face. Want and restraint and something deeper I couldn't name. Then I'll still be here tomorrow, he said finally. And the day after that. I'm not going anywhere, Soraya. The thing is, he meant it. Over the next several weeks, Rowan became the steadiest presence in my life. When my mother called to tell me that Claire and Derek were moving forward with their relationship and I needed to be supportive, Rowan was the one who sat with me while I cried. When I had to go back to my apartment to get my things, he was the one who helped me pack, who didn't ask questions when I threw away the wedding binder without opening it. He never tried to kiss me again, though I caught him looking at me sometimes with an expression that made my heart beat faster. He was patient in a way I'd never experienced, present without being possessive, caring without demanding anything in return. Why are you being so kind to me? I asked him one evening. We were at his apartment, a small one-bedroom space that was meticulously clean and almost aggressively impersonal, like he hadn't quite committed to living there yet. Why wouldn't I be? He asked, looking genuinely confused by the question. You don't owe me anything. We barely know each other. I know enough, he said simply. I know you're kind and funny and stronger than you think you are. I know you deserve better than you've been given. That seems like enough to go on. I set down the tea he'd made me and crossed the small living room to where he sat. He watched me come, wary but not unwelcoming. What if I told you I wanted to stay tonight? I said quietly. His expression shifted, want and concern warring in his eyes. "Zariah, I'm not confused," I interrupted. "I'm not trying to use you to forget someone else. I'm here because I want to be here. With you." He reached up slowly and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, his touch careful. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." What happened next was gentle and unhurried, nothing like the frantic passion I'd always associated with desire. Rowan touched me like I was something valuable, like my comfort mattered more than his want. He kept asking if I was okay, if I wanted to stop, giving me every opportunity to change my mind. I didn't change my mind. Afterward, lying in his bed with his arm around me and his breathing steady against my hair, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Safe. Chosen. Seen. "Thank you," I whispered. His arm tightened slightly. "For what?" "For being patient with me. For being kind." "That's not something you should have to thank someone for," he said quietly. "That should just be the baseline." I fell asleep there, and for the first time since that day in the hotel conference room, I didn't have nightmares. I woke up to morning light filtering through unfamiliar curtains and the smell of coffee. Rowan was already up, dressed in sweatpants and a t-shirt that had seen better days, moving around the small kitchen with careful efficiency. "Morning," he said when he noticed I was awake. "Coffee? Please." He brought me a mug, then sat on the edge of the bed, maintaining a respectful distance despite what had happened between us hours before. "How are you feeling?" "Good," I said, and meant it. "Really good, actually." "Good." He smiled, and it transformed his whole face, made him look younger and less burdened. "I have a physical therapy appointment this morning, but I'm free this afternoon if you want to do something." "I'd like that." He leaned forward and kissed my forehead, tender and chaste, then stood. "Take your time. Door locks automatically when you leave." I watched him go, this careful man who asked for nothing and somehow made me feel like I could ask for everything, and I felt something bloom in my chest. Something fragile but real. I didn't know yet that everything was about to change. That the safety I felt in his presence was built on a foundation of ignorance, and that foundation was about to crack wide open. I found out 3 days later, in the worst possible way. I'd gone to my parents' house to pick up some childhood books I wanted for the library's collection. My father was the one who answered the door, and his expression when he saw me was strange. Guilty, maybe, or uncomfortable. "Zariah, we weren't expecting you." "I called yesterday," I said. "About the books?" "Right." "Yes. Come in." The house felt different somehow, or maybe I was the one who was different. I followed my father to the garage where my boxes were stored, and that's when I heard voices from the living room. Derek's voice. Claire's. And one I didn't recognize, but that made my father's shoulders tense. "Is that Derek?" I asked quietly. My father looked pained. "They're here with Derek's brother. He just got back from overseas." Something cold settled in my stomach. His brother. Rowan. He was injured in his last deployment. Derek wanted us to meet him. The world tilted. I stood there in the garage, surrounded by boxes of my childhood, while my father kept talking, but I couldn't hear him anymore. The rushing in my ears was too loud. Rowan. Derek's brother. The man I'd been falling for, the man I'd slept with, was my ex-fiancé's brother. I walked into that living room on autopilot. Rowan was sitting on the couch, looking thinner than I remembered, paler. Derek was next to him, animated in a way I'd never seen when we were together. Claire was perched on the armrest, her hand on Derek's shoulder in a gesture of casual ownership. Rowan saw me first. The color drained from his face so fast I thought he might pass out. "Zariah," my mother said brightly, clearly trying to smooth over the awkwardness. Perfect timing. "This is Rowan, Derek's older brother." "Rowan, this is Zariah." She and Derek were engaged before he and Claire got together. The way she said it, so casual, like I was just another piece of family history. Not a person who'd been betrayed. Just an inconvenient detail in Claire's love story. We've met, Rowan said, his voice rough. Everyone turned to look at him. Then at me. You have? Derek asked, and he sounded genuinely surprised. At the hospital, I managed. Weeks ago. That was all I could say. All I could admit in front of these people who'd already taken so much from me. I watched understanding dawn on Rowan's face, saw him realize that I'd had no idea who he was. That this hadn't been some calculated revenge plot. I need to go, I said. I was out the door before anyone could stop me, but I heard footsteps behind me, heavier and uneven. Rowan. Soraya, wait. Please. I spun around in the driveway, and I could feel myself shaking. You knew. The whole time you knew. No. He stopped several feet away, hands raised like he was approaching something skittish. I swear to you, I had no idea. Derek told me about the engagement ending, but he never told me your name. He just said his ex-fiancé. And then you were there that day in the parking lot, and you looked so hurt, and I just wanted to help. When did you figure it out? Last night, he said, and he sounded destroyed. Derek sent me a photo. A family picture from Christmas 2 years ago. You were in it. I wrapped my arms around myself. Why didn't you tell me then? Because I'm a coward, he said simply. Because I didn't want to lose you, and I knew I would the second you found out. Because I've spent my entire life coming in second to Derek, and for once I had something good that was just mine, and I wanted to keep it. I'm not a thing you can keep. I know. I know that. Soraya, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He took a step closer, then stopped when I flinched. What happened between us was real. At least it was for me. I wasn't using you. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I just met someone who made me feel less broken, and I didn't want to let that go. You should have told me, I whispered. You're right. I should have. I was selfish and wrong, and I'm sorry. I looked at him, this man who'd shown me what kindness looked like, what patience felt like, and I didn't know what to feel. Anger, yes. Betrayal, absolutely. But also grief, because even knowing what I knew now, I couldn't make myself regret him. I need time, I said finally. I can't do this right now. He nodded, accepting the boundary without argument. Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready. If you're ever ready. I left him standing in my parents' driveway, and I drove back to my friend's apartment where I'd been staying, and I cried until I couldn't breathe. The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I threw myself into work, spending extra hours at the library helping children find books about dragons and friendship and happy endings. I avoided my family's calls. I didn't go back to the park. But I thought about Rowan constantly. About the way he'd listened when I talked. The way he'd never pushed me to be anything other than what I was. The way he'd touched me like I mattered. Derek called me once. I let it go to voicemail. Soraya, it's me. Look, I heard about you and Rowan. I need you to stay away from him, okay? He's been through enough without you using him to get back at me. Whatever you're doing, just stop. For his sake. I listened to that message 3 times, each time feeling something crystallize inside me. Derek genuinely believed I'd pursued his brother as revenge. He couldn't conceive of a world where Rowan and I had found each other naturally, where what we had was separate from him entirely. That's when I realized something important. Derek had never really seen me. Neither had Claire or my parents. They'd seen the version of me that was convenient, that made their lives easier, that didn't ask too much or expect too much. But Rowan had seen me. The actual me. And somehow, that mattered more than all the rest of it. I called him on a Tuesday evening, 3 weeks after that scene in my parents' living room. Soraya? He sounded surprised, hopeful, scared all at once. Can we talk? I asked. In person? Yes. Anywhere. When? Now. I'll send you my address. I'm still at the same apartment. When I got there, he was waiting outside, leaning against the building like he'd been too nervous to stay inside. He looked thinner, more tired, but his eyes lit up when he saw me. "Hi," he said softly. "Hi." We went inside, and the apartment looked even more lived in than before. There were photos on the bookshelf now, books instead of empty space. Like he'd decided to stay after all. "I've been thinking," I said, standing in the middle of his living room because sitting felt too casual for what I needed to say. "About everything. About you and me and Derek and all of it." He waited, patient even now, giving me space to find my words. "I'm angry that you didn't tell me," I continued. "I'm angry that you knew before I did and kept it from me. That wasn't fair." "No," he agreed quietly. "It wasn't. But I also understand why you did it. Because what we had, whatever this is, it's separate from all of them. It has nothing to do with Derek or Claire or my parents. It's just us." "It is," he said, and his voice was rough with emotion. "It's just us, Soraya. It always has been. Derek called me, told me to stay away from you, said I was using you for revenge." Rowan's jaw tightened. "He has no right to tell you anything." That's what I thought. And then I realized something. Everyone in my life has spent so much time telling me what I should do, who I should be, what I should feel. But you've never done that. Not once. I took a step closer to him, and he held very still, like he was afraid any movement might spook me. "You asked me what I wanted," I continued. "You made space for me to figure out what I actually felt instead of what I thought I should feel. And that's worth more to me than being related to Derek is worth against you." "What are you saying?" he asked carefully. "I'm saying I want to try. If you do. I'm saying that what happened between us wasn't a mistake, and it wasn't revenge, and it wasn't about anyone but us." He closed the distance between us in 2 uneven strides, cupping my face in his hands with a gentleness that made my throat tight. "I want to try. I want that more than I've wanted anything in a very long time. We're going to have to deal with a lot of judgment," I warned. "My family, your family, everyone is going to have opinions about this." "Let them," he said simply. "I've spent my whole life trying to live up to other people's expectations, trying to be brave enough, good enough, whole enough. I'm tired, Soraya. I'm tired of pretending I'm not broken in all the ways that matter. But with you, I don't feel broken. I just feel human." I kissed him then, and it felt like coming home and starting over all at the same time. When we finally pulled apart, I rested my forehead against his. "I'm scared," I whispered. "Me too," he admitted. "But I think maybe that's okay. Maybe being scared means it matters." We spent that evening talking about what came next. About how we'd navigate family gatherings that would inevitably be uncomfortable. About how we'd deal with people who wanted to make our relationship about Derek and Claire instead of about us. About how we'd protect what we had while also being honest about the complexity of the situation. "I don't want to hide you," Rowan said at one point, his hand tangled with mine. "I don't want to pretend this is something it's not. But I also don't want to hurt you more than you've already been hurt." "I think we're past avoiding hurt," I said. "But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is choosing who you want to walk through the hurt with." He smiled, sad and hopeful all at once. "I'd walk through anything with you." Over the next few months, we built something real. It wasn't easy. My mother stopped speaking to me entirely when she found out Rowan and I were together. Claire sent me a long text about how I was being vindictive and cruel, how I was hurting Derek just to be petty. Even my father, who I'd always thought understood me better than the others, asked me if I was sure I knew what I was doing. But Rowan was steady through all of it. He never asked me to defend our relationship to people who'd already decided to misunderstand it. He never made me feel like I had to choose between him and my family, even though they were essentially forcing that choice. "They'll come around or they won't," he said one night after a particularly painful conversation with my mother. "Either way, you'll be okay. We'll be okay." His physical therapy was progressing slowly. There were days when the pain was bad enough that he couldn't hide it, couldn't pretend he was fine. On those days, I'd sit with him while he worked through it, Not trying to fix anything, just being present. I used to think I needed to be strong all the time, he told me once, lying on the couch with his leg elevated and his face tight with discomfort. Like admitting I was hurting made me weak. That's not weakness, I said, running my fingers through his hair. That's just being human. That's what my therapist says. He managed a small smile. You and her would get along. You're in therapy? Started a few weeks after I got discharged. Took me a while to admit I needed it, but yeah. He looked up at me. Is that okay? Why wouldn't it be? Some people think it's a sign you're damaged. Broken beyond repair. Some people are idiots, I said firmly. And I happen to think you're doing exactly what you should be doing. Taking care of yourself. That's brave, not broken. He pulled me down to him, kissing me with a gentleness that still managed to make my heart race. How did I get this lucky? I think luck had very little to do with it, I said against his lips. I think we both just decided we deserved something good. 8 months after that scene in my parents' living room, Rowan got a job offer. Nothing military related, just a position with a veteran support organization helping other former soldiers adjust to civilian life. It's perfect, I told him when he showed me the offer letter. You'd be amazing at that. It means staying here, he said carefully. Putting down roots. Committing to this place, this life. Is that what you want? He looked at me for a long moment. I want wherever you are. That's not an answer, Rowan. What do you want for yourself? He smiled, and it was the most genuine expression I'd ever seen on his face. I want this. The job, this city, you. I want to build something that lasts instead of just surviving day to day. Then you should take it. Even though it means dealing with my family more? Derek lives here. My parents live here. You'll have to see them. I know, I said simply. And I'm okay with that. I'm not hiding anymore. Not from them, not from anyone. He took the job. We celebrated with takeout on his couch and bad television, and it was perfect in its ordinariness. But life has a way of complicating even the best intentions. 3 weeks into his new job, Rowan's injury flared up badly. He'd been pushing himself too hard, trying to prove he could keep up with everyone else, and his body finally rebelled. The doctors said he needed another surgery, a more extensive one, with a recovery period that would be measured in months, not weeks. I'm sorry, he said when he told me, looking more defeated than I'd ever seen him. I know this isn't what you signed up for. Stop, I said firmly. This is exactly what I signed up for. All of it. The good days and the hard ones. But you didn't ask for a partner who can't even walk properly half the time. I took his face in my hands, making him look at me. I asked for you. All of you. Including the parts that hurt and the parts that need healing. That's what loving someone means, Rowan. It means staying when things get hard. You love me? He asked, and he sounded stunned. I realized I'd never actually said it out loud before. We danced around it, implied it, but neither of us had put words to it. Yes, I said simply. I love you. I've loved you since you helped me unlock my car in that parking lot and didn't ask why I was crying. I've loved you through every careful conversation and patient moment. And I love you now, surgery and recovery and all of it. He kissed me then, deep and desperate, like he was trying to memorize the taste of being loved. When we finally broke apart, there were tears on his cheeks. I love you too, he whispered. So much it scares me sometimes. Good, I said, wiping his tears away with my thumbs. That means it's real. The surgery was scheduled for early spring. In the weeks leading up to it, we fell into a new rhythm. I'd go to work, he'd go to his therapy appointments and work shifts, and in the evenings we'd cook together in his small kitchen, talking about our days. It felt domestic in the best possible way. Normal. Like we were just two people building a life together, not two people navigating the complicated aftermath of betrayal and family drama. But the universe wasn't quite done with us yet. 2 days before Rowan's surgery, I got a call from my mother. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Zariah. Her voice was strained. I need you to come to the house. It's important. What's wrong? Just please come. I'm asking you as your mother. I found her in the kitchen, the same kitchen where she'd told me to be understanding about my sister and my fiancé's betrayal. But she looked different now. Older. Tired. Claire's getting married, she said without preamble. To Derek. They've set a date for June. Okay, I said carefully, waiting for the point. They want you to come. Claire specifically asked me to invite you. I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to my own ears. Why would I go to that? Because she's your sister. Because family is supposed to be there for each other, even when things are complicated. Is she going to be there for me? I asked quietly. When Rowan has his surgery in 2 days, is she going to call and ask how he's doing? Is Derek going to check on his brother? Or is family only important when it's convenient for them? My mother looked away. That's not fair. You're right. It's not fair. None of this has been fair, Mom. But I'm done pretending it is. So you're choosing him over your family? I'm choosing me, I said firmly. I'm choosing the person who sees me, who values me, who doesn't ask me to make myself smaller so everyone else can be more comfortable. And yes, that person happens to be Rowan. But this isn't about him versus you. This is about me finally understanding what I deserve. My mother was quiet for a long moment. When did you get so hard? I'm not hard, I said. I'm just done being soft in all the wrong ways. I left after that, and I didn't look back. Rowan's surgery went well as these things can go. I spent the day in the waiting room with a book I couldn't focus on and coffee I didn't drink, until finally the doctor came out to tell me everything had gone according to plan. He's going to need significant support during recovery, the doctor warned. This isn't something he can do alone. He won't be alone, I said. When they finally let me see him, Rowan was groggy and pale, but managed a weak smile when he saw me. Hey, he mumbled. Hey yourself. I took his hand carefully, mindful of the 4 lines. Doctor says you did great. Feels like I got hit by a truck. That's the good stuff talking, I said, gesturing to the morphine drip. You're going to feel even worse tomorrow. Can't wait, he said dryly, then his expression grew serious despite the drugs. Thank you for being here. Where else would I be? I know this isn't easy. Taking care of someone, dealing with all this. Rowan. I waited until he focused on me. Stop apologizing for taking up space in my life. You belong here. We belong together. Okay, he whispered. Recovery was hard. Harder than either of us had anticipated. There were days when Rowan was in too much pain to do anything but lie still and breathe through it. Days when he was frustrated and angry at his own body for betraying him. Days when I was exhausted from work and caregiving and just trying to keep everything together. But there were also good days. Days when we'd sit together and watch old movies. Days when he'd tell me stories from his deployment, the funny ones that he could finally laugh about. Days when we'd just exist in the same space, comfortable in our silence. I don't know how to thank you, he said one evening, about 6 weeks post-surgery. He was able to walk with crutches now, slowly regaining his independence. You don't have to thank me. This is what people do when they love each other. Is it? He looked at me seriously. Because my whole life, I've watched people walk away the second things got hard. My dad left when Derek and I were kids. My ex-girlfriend broke up with me the day I told her I was being deployed. I've never had someone just stay before. Then you've been dealing with the wrong people, I said simply. Because this is easy compared to what I felt when I was with Derek. This is hard work, but it's honest work. It matters. He reached for me, pulling me carefully onto the couch next to him. I want to give you everything, and I hate that right now all I can give you is this broken body and too much time in doctors' offices. You give me yourself, I said. That's not nothing, Rowan. That's everything. We sat like that for a long time, tangled together on his couch, and I felt more at peace than I had in years. The wedding invitation arrived in May. Heavy cardstock, expensive printing, my name written in careful calligraphy. Claire and Derek were getting married in June at the same venue where Derek and I were supposed to get married. You don't have to go, Rowan said when he saw the invitation sitting on the counter. I know, but you're thinking about it. Maybe. I picked up the invitation, studying the elegant script. Not because I want to celebrate them, but because I want to prove something to myself. What? That they don't have power over me anymore. That I can walk into that room and feel nothing but relief that I'm not marrying someone who never really saw me. Rowan was quiet for a moment. If you go, I'm coming with you. Rowan, no. That's too much. Your brother is getting married. You shouldn't have to deal with all that family drama while you're still recovering. Exactly, he said firmly. My brother is getting married to my girlfriend's former fiancé's ex-fiancé. If that's not peak family drama, I don't know what is. And I'm not letting you walk into that alone. I wanted to argue, but the truth was I didn't want to go alone. I wanted him there, solid and steady beside me, reminding me of what real love actually looked like. Okay, I said finally. But the second it gets to be too much, we leave. No arguments. Deal. The day of the wedding was perfect. Sunny but not too hot, with just enough breeze to keep things comfortable. I wore a simple dress in deep green, nothing bridal or attention-seeking. Rowan wore a suit that he kept adjusting nervously, still not entirely comfortable in formal clothing. You look beautiful, he said as we pulled into the venue parking lot. You look terrified, I replied. Little bit, he admitted. I haven't seen Derek since he found out about us. Or my parents. This is going to be awkward. Extremely, I agreed. But we'll survive it. We walked in together, Rowan moving slowly but steadily without his crutches. He'd worked hard to be able to walk unassisted today, and I knew it cost him to look this normal. The ceremony was in the garden, chairs arranged in neat rows facing an arch covered in white roses. My mother was in the front row. She glanced back when we entered, and I saw her eyes widen slightly when she saw Rowan beside me. We sat in the back, far enough away to avoid drama, close enough to technically be present. Derek saw us before the ceremony started. He did a visible double take, then leaned to whisper something to his groomsmen. I felt Rowan tense beside me. Ignore him, I murmured. We're here for us, not for him. The ceremony itself was beautiful, I suppose. Claire looked lovely in her white dress. Derek looked nervous, but happy. They said their vows with trembling voices, promised to love and honor each other, and I felt absolutely nothing. No anger. No jealousy. Not even satisfaction. Just a mild curiosity about whether they'd actually keep those promises they were making. You okay? Rowan whispered during the recessional. Yeah, I said, and I meant it. I really am. The reception was harder. There was a receiving line where we were expected to congratulate the couple, and I could feel everyone watching us as we approached. Claire hugged me stiffly. Thank you for coming. I know this is probably weird for you. Congratulations, I said neutrally. I hope you're very happy. Derek wouldn't look at Rowan at all. Just shook my hand briefly and said something generic about being glad I could make it. Rowan's parents were a different story. His mother pulled him aside almost immediately, and I watched from across the room as they had what looked like an intense conversation. When he came back to me, he looked drained. She asked if I was trying to hurt Derek on purpose, he said quietly. If I pursued you just to get back at him for always being the golden child. What did you say? I told her I fell in love with someone who saw me for who I actually am, not who everyone wants me to be. And if that happens to be inconvenient for her narrative about her perfect youngest son, that's not my problem anymore. I took his hand. I'm proud of you. I'm tired, he admitted. Can we go soon? We can go now. We left before the dancing started, slipping out while everyone was focused on the cake cutting. In the car, Rowan let out a long breath. That was horrible, he said. Completely, I agreed. But we did it. We did. He turned to look at me. And you know what? I don't feel guilty. I thought I would. I thought I'd see Derek all happy and feel like I'd stolen something from him. But I don't. Because what we have, you and me, it has nothing to do with him. No, I said softly. It really doesn't. We went back to his apartment, changed into comfortable clothes, and ordered pizza. We ate it on the couch while watching a nature documentary, and it was perfect in its simplicity. That night, lying in bed with Rowan's arms around me and his breathing steady against my neck, I realized something important. I'd spent so much time being afraid of trusting my own judgment after Derek and Claire's betrayal. Afraid that I'd choose wrong again, give my heart to someone who didn't value it. But I hadn't chosen wrong with Rowan. And maybe that meant I could trust myself after all. 2 months after the wedding, things shifted again. Rowan's recovery was progressing well. He was back at work full-time, moving with only a slight limp that he said might be permanent, but was manageable. We'd fallen into an easy routine, spending most nights together, talking about future plans in vague, hopeful terms. Then one evening, Rowan came home looking serious. "We need to talk," he said, and my stomach dropped. "Okay." He sat down across from me, not beside me, and that spatial choice told me this was important. I got offered a position. A really good position with a national veterans organization. It's exactly the kind of work I want to be doing. "That's amazing," I said carefully, waiting for the catch. "It's in Seattle." "Oh, Seattle," I repeated. 3,000 miles away. I'd have to move, probably within the next 2 months. He looked miserable. "Zariah, I don't want to go. But this is the kind of opportunity one might not get again. It's everything I've been working toward." I sat with that for a moment, processing. "Have you already decided?" "No. I wanted to talk to you first. I wanted to know if there was any universe where you'd consider coming with me." "Coming with you?" I echoed. "Moving to Seattle? Leaving my job, my life here?" I know it's a lot to ask. I know we've only been together for less than a year. But Zariah, I love you. I want to build a life with you, and I don't want to do it long distance. I want to wake up next to you. I want to come home to you. I want all of it. My heart was racing. This was huge. This was commitment on a level I'd never dealt with before. What if I said I needed time to think about it? I asked. Then I'd wait, he said simply. I'd turn down the position and wait for another opportunity, here or somewhere you wanted to be. Because you matter more than the job, Zariah. You matter more than anything. I looked at this man who'd helped me rebuild myself, who'd shown me what it meant to be chosen every single day, and I felt something slot into place. I don't need time, I said. His expression fell. Okay, I understand. No, I mean I don't need time because my answer is yes. I'll come with you. To Seattle or anywhere else. Because you're right. This is real. What we have is real. And I'm not letting fear keep me from choosing it. His whole face transformed. Are you serious? Completely. I'll have to give notice at work, figure out what to do with my apartment, but yes, I want to do this. With you. He crossed the space between us and kissed me, deep and joyful and full of promise. When we finally broke apart, we were both laughing. We're really doing this, he asked. We're really doing this. The next few weeks were chaos. I gave my notice at the library, and my colleagues threw me a small going-away party. I packed up my apartment, deciding what to keep and what to leave behind. I told my parents I was moving, and my mother cried, though I wasn't sure if it was from sadness or relief. My father pulled me aside before I left. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for not standing up for you, for letting your mother and Claire make you feel like your pain didn't matter. Thank you, I said, because what else was there to say? Are you happy? He asked. With him? Yes, I said simply. Happier than I've ever been. Then I'm glad. Even if it's complicated. even if it makes family dinners awkward for the foreseeable future. He smiled sadly. You deserve to be happy, Zariah. I should have told you that a long time ago. We loaded everything into a moving truck on a cold October morning. Rowan drove, and I sat beside him, watching our city disappear in the rearview mirror. Any regrets? He asked as we hit the highway. Not even one, I said, and I meant it. Seattle was different from home in every way. Rainier instead of flat, green instead of brown, coffee culture instead of sweet tea. We found a small apartment in a neighborhood full of old trees and local bookstores, and slowly, we built a life. Rowan thrived in his new position. He was making a real difference, helping veterans navigate the complicated process of returning to civilian life. He came home most days tired but satisfied, like he'd finally found his purpose. I got a job at a children's library branch, and it was perfect. Smaller than my old job, more intimate, with regular kids who came in asking for recommendations and telling me about their lives. We made friends. We explored the city. We learned to love the rain and the mountains and the way the sunset turned everything pink. And we were happy. Not in a grand, dramatic way. Just in the quiet, steady way of two people who'd chosen each other and kept choosing each other every single day. But life, as I mentioned before, has a way of complicating even the best intentions. I found out I was pregnant on a Tuesday in March, exactly 18 months after we'd left home. I'd been feeling off for a few weeks, tired and slightly nauseous, and I'd chalked it up to a persistent flu. But then I missed my period, and then I missed another one, and finally I took a test in the bathroom of our apartment while Rowan was at work. 2 pink lines. I sat on the bathroom floor for a long time, staring at that test and trying to process what it meant. We never explicitly talked about children. We talked about marriage in vague terms, about buying a house someday, about the future as this nebulous, beautiful thing. But we'd never actually planned for a baby. I was terrified, excited, overwhelmed, all of it at once. When Rowan came home that evening, I was sitting on the couch, still holding the test. He took one look at my face and went pale. What's wrong? I held up the test without saying anything. He stared at it for a long moment, then slowly sat down next to me. You're pregnant. Yeah. How do you feel about that? Trust Rowan to ask that question first. Not what he felt, not what it meant for us, but what I felt. Scared, I admitted. We didn't plan this. We're not married. We just moved here. This is terrible timing. Okay. He took my hand. And I want this, I whispered. With you. I want everything with you, Rowan. Even the scary parts. He pulled me to him, holding me tight enough that I could feel his heart racing. I want this too. All of it. You, me, this baby. Everything. We're going to have to tell people, I said against his chest. My parents, your parents, Derek and Claire. Everyone is going to have opinions about this. Let them, he said firmly. This is our life, Zariah. Our family. And anyone who can't be happy for us doesn't deserve a place in it. We told his parents first, over video call, because flying home wasn't feasible yet. His mother cried. His father said congratulations, but looked uncomfortable. They both carefully didn't mention Derek and Claire. My mother was surprisingly emotional when I told her. A baby, she said, and her voice cracked. Oh, Zariah. Are you happy? Yes, I said. Really happy. Then so am I. She paused. Can I come visit? When the baby comes. I know things have been difficult, but I'd like to be there if you'll have me. I'd like that, I said, and meant it. Claire didn't respond to my announcement at all. Derek sent a brief text saying congratulations. It was fine. I didn't need their blessing or approval. I had Rowan's steady presence and our growing baby and a life we'd built from scratch. The pregnancy was relatively easy. Some morning sickness, some fatigue, but nothing dramatic. Rowan was attentive without being overbearing, excited without being pushy. He came to every appointment, asked questions, read books about fatherhood with the same intensity he'd brought to physical therapy. "You're going to be a great dad," I told him one night as we lay in bed, his hand on my growing stomach. "I hope so," he said quietly. "I didn't have the best example growing up. My dad left when things got hard. I don't want to be like that." "You won't be. You're nothing like that." I covered his hand with mine. "You're the person who stays, Rowan. That's who you are." We got married in May, quiet and simple at a courthouse with 2 friends as witnesses. No big ceremony, no family drama, just the 2 of us choosing each other officially and legally. "Hi, wife," Rowan said after we signed the papers, and he was grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. "Hi, husband," I replied, and kissed him right there in front of the judge and everyone. Our daughter was born in August, 3 weeks early and screaming her way into the world. 6 pounds, 2 ounces, with Rowan's dark hair and my nose. We named her Elena Grace, and she was perfect in every possible way. Rowan cried when he held her for the first time. Proper tears streaming down his face while he stared at this tiny person we'd created. "Thank you," he whispered to me. "For this. For her. For everything." My mother came to visit when Elena was 2 weeks old. She brought clothes and blankets and an apologetic expression. "I'm sorry," she said on her first day there, while we sat together watching Rowan walk Elena around the apartment, humming something soft. "For not supporting you. For making you feel like your pain didn't matter. You deserved better from me." "Thank you," I said, because it was all I could offer. The anger had dulled over time into something more like sadness, but I appreciated the apology anyway. "You look happy," she continued. "Both of you. I've never seen you this settled." "I am happy," I said simply. "Happier than I knew was possible." She stayed for a week, helping with the baby, cooking meals, slowly building a bridge back to a relationship. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments and things left unsaid. But it was something. Claire sent a gift. A small blanket with Elena's name embroidered on it. No card, no explanation, just the blanket. I didn't know what to make of it, so I chose to take it as the olive branch it might have been. Derek never reached out at all, and that was fine. He and Rowan had spoken a few times since we'd moved, brief and stilted conversations that satisfied the bare minimum of brotherly obligation. There was no warmth there, but there was no active hostility either. Just a careful distance that both of them seemed to prefer. Elena grew and changed, and our life adjusted around her. Sleepless nights and exhausted days, but also moments of such pure joy that they made everything else worthwhile. The first smile, the first laugh, the way she'd grab Rowan's finger and hold on like he was her whole world. "I can't believe this is my life," Rowan said one night, holding Elena while I dozed on the couch. "A year ago I was alone and broken, and now I have you and her and everything I never thought I'd get to have." "You were never broken," I said sleepily. "Just healing." "Maybe," he conceded. "But you made the healing possible, Zariah. You made all of this possible." It's been 6 months since Elena was born. 6 months of learning to be parents, of navigating this new phase of our lives. We're tired all the time. Our apartment is covered in baby things. Date nights are rare and usually involve one of us falling asleep halfway through a movie. And it's perfect. All of it. Because here's what I learned through everything that happened. Love isn't fireworks. It's not grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It's not intensity or passion that burns bright and fast. Love is the man who helps you unlock your car door when you're too broken to manage it yourself. Love is patience when you're scared and kindness when you're hurting. Love is choosing to stay when things get hard, choosing to grow together instead of apart, choosing each other every single day. Love is Rowan, standing in our kitchen at 2 a.m. with our daughter against his shoulder, swaying gently and humming something wordless while I watch from the doorway. Love is building a life with someone who sees you, all of you, and chooses you anyway. Derek and Claire sent a Christmas card this year. A photo of them in front of their new house, smiling and perfect. There was no note, just their names printed at the bottom. I looked at that card for a long time, this evidence of their happy ending, and I felt nothing but gratitude. Gratitude that I didn't marry Derek. Gratitude that the betrayal happened before the wedding instead of after. Gratitude for every painful moment that led me to Rowan. I put the card in a drawer and went back to my actual life. The one with the crying baby and the patient husband and the messy apartment and the bone-deep happiness that comes from being exactly where you're supposed to be. Yesterday, Rowan came home early from work. He found me on the couch with Elena asleep on my chest, both of us exhausted from a long day. He sat down carefully beside us, kissed Elena's head, then kissed mine. "I love you," he said quietly. "Both of you. My whole world." "We love you too," I whispered back. And that's the truth. That's the whole truth. Not the story people want to hear about revenge or scandal or broken families. Just the simple, complicated truth about two people who found each other at the right time and built something real. Because that's what love is in the end. Not fireworks. Just a steady flame that keeps burning, even when everything else is dark. Especially then. If you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect you, if you've ever had to choose between what others expect and what you know is right, if you've ever found love in the most unexpected place, I hope this story meant something to you. And if you've ever had to learn to trust yourself again after someone broke that trust, remember this: you are not defined by the people who hurt you. You are defined by how you heal, by who you choose to become, and by the love you allow yourself to receive when you finally believe you deserve it.